Good morning, Daily Dosers. My name is Kip Strawbridge, and I'm one of the campus pastors from our Carlsbad campus. And this morning, we're in the book of James, chapter 1 again. I got 3 verses for you, verses 19, 20, and 21. Let me read them to you real quick. It says this, "My dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. For man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. Therefore, get rid of all moral filth and the evil that is so prevalent, and humbly accept the word planted in you, which can save you." I remember when I was a kid, I accepted Christ when I was 8 years old. And I went to this small church in Mississippi, kind of a country church, and me and my sister and some of the other kids were running around after church. My mom was talking to people, and we were hanging out. And as my older sister would often do, started antagonizing me, kind of poking at me. And it flared up something in me. And for the first time, I still to this day, years later, remember the emotion. I remember the anger. I remember how hot my face got. I remember how tense my muscles were as my anger welled up inside me. And I screamed out the nastiest thing I could think at my sister. And I said, "You butthole." And while in my vernacular, by contrast, isn't that bad. But it was the ugliest word I could think of. And as mad as I was at that time, I wanted to use that word like a spear to hurt my sister as much as I was angry at her. And to this day, I remember that emotion. I remember that feeling. And I try to avoid it at all costs. But I love how James here instructs us. And I think it's interesting. You don't find it very often, but here in James, there's a colon. And it starts off with, "My brothers, take note of this, colon." And he gives us a list. And the first one is this: everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And I find it interesting. And when I first read this, it stuck out to me because listening and speaking are those two things I think of that I can control pretty easily. But anger, I think of as just an emotion that happens. But here he instructs us to be slow to become angry. And in this instruction, I think it's good for us. And he gives us a reason, a justification. For man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. And so in here, we get this, the heart of God. His desire for us is that our life would be a righteous example. Not just the righteousness that's imputed on us, that God puts on us through salvation, through faith in Christ, but a righteousness as a reflection of Christ. That our life is an example to others. It's a witness, a testimony to the people around us. And then when the famous word you see often in the Bible, therefore, you have to ask what it's there for. And he says, therefore, if this is what you're going to do, he says, then you need to get rid of all moral filth. I think that's an easy one for all of us to apply. And the evil that is so prevalent, and humbly accept the word planted in you. So today, if you're wrestling with anger, if it's something that is, when I say the word anger, that it resonates with you. I know what that feeling feels like, and it feels like something we can't control. But I think here we're instructed that we can, with the power of God's Spirit in us, that we should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And I think the key here is right in the word in verse 21 is humble. Humbly accept the word planted in you. And I think if we walk into our day with humility, that we can begin to rein in that anger. And so I just pray for you that today you could put into practice. If anger is one of those things that you wrestle with, it's a hot button for you. That, you might be coined a hothead or whatever it is. That you would just ask God to help you with that, to help you to become quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, and that we would put on that humility that God calls us to. So there's a challenge for today, and there's your daily dose.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And consider sharing this video with a friend.